Okay, good morning class. So today we're looking at polynomials. At this stage you have covered examples for exercise 1, 2 and 3. And just looked at the problems were. And the problem was at number 3. Number 7. Okay. So today we're going to look at the examples for exercise 4. And exercise 4 is on page 137. We're also reading from page 157. Okay. So when you factorize a cubic or a third degree polynomial using division by inspection, follow these steps. So you guys can write these steps down. Test for a linear factor using factor theorem. Possible factors are the constant terms of 6 is going to be x equal to plus minus 1, plus minus 2, plus minus 3, plus minus 6. Use division by inspection to find the quadratic equation, which is x squared plus bx plus c. And thirdly, factorize the quadratic factor if possible. Okay. Alright. So let's look at that work example. So the question says factorize. Okay. So we've got x cubed minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 6. So what was the first step we had to do? Test for a linear factor using the factor theorem. Okay? Test for a linear factor. So how do we do that? We start by saying f of 1. We test when x is equal to 1. Then we test minus 1. If 1 doesn't give you 0. Now if 1 and minus 1 don't give you 0, then you go with 2. And then minus 2. If that doesn't work, then you go with 3. And then minus 3. That doesn't work, 6 and minus 6. Those are for high school and core maths, those values work all the time. Okay, we had done further maths, and then it's of course different. Okay, it's that and more. So you must actually go with f of b over a in a negative thing. Okay, but for you guys, one of those 8 will work. Okay. Yes. Sorry? What? Those, as I said, those values always work, but if you look at 6, can 4 go into 6? So 6 won't work. 4 won't work. Alright, so what we do is wherever we see an x, we put a 1. So we're testing now, okay? So we go 1 cubed minus 2 times 1 squared minus 5 times 1 plus 6. So that in that calculator, let's say 1, the last answer calculated is 1. So I put in the calculator 1. So what is this now going to read? Answer cubed minus 2 times answer squared minus 5 times answer plus 6. So if that gives me 0, then what does that mean? That x minus 1 is a factor. Not so. So, works. Okay. What if I had to start it by minus 1? Would that have been a factor? The answer is 8. What if I had gone with 2? By substitute 2 if I say x, would that have been a factor? No. What if I had gone with minus 2? Is that a factor? Yes. Minus 2 would have been a factor. You see that, people? So once we factorize this, you'll see minus 2 will also be one of those answers. Let's check 3. Would 3 have been a factor? Yes. It's a solution. So if x is 3, then what is the factor? X minus 3. You guys understand? Right, so what we do is, if this didn't work, we would never written it down. Okay? Only because that gives me an answer of 0, I write it down. So if the 1 didn't work, I would never written it down. Minus 1, no. If 2 gave me 0, then I would have showed the substitution for 2 only and put 0. You guys understand? So we conclude now, therefore, if x is equal to 1, therefore, x minus 1 is a factor. That's your linear factor. That's how you find the linear factor. You guys understand?
Yes, sir.
Is that you okay? What is the next step we have to do? Next step? Use division by inspection to find the quadratic factor ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so now for x cubed minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 6, we know that the linear factor is x minus 1. Can you see that? We know that's your linear factor. So how do we get a cubic? We multiply a linear by a quadratic. Okay. Linear times a linear would give you what? Linear times a linear gives you what? If I multiply this out? Quadratic. Can you see that? And a linear times a quadratic is going to give you cubic. You understand? So we ask ourselves, okay? This is by inspection, okay? You can either do long division or in the videos below, in the description box, I've used a different form of inspection, okay? But with the FS Maths learners, I see they caught on very quickly to this method. So let's see how you guys react to it, okay? So we say, you guys are special, yeah? Right, so let's go. We got x multiplied by what is x cubed? You see you guys are getting it already. So minus 1 multiplied by what constant is going to give you 6? Okay. You guys are surprising me. So you all should agree there should be an x here. No? So you get x squared, x and no x. What's the standard form of a quadratic? X squared plus bx plus. So in other words, I'm shorting this Mickey Mouse here. Not so. So we're going to replace it with a variable of kx. Okay. When I replace it with a variable k of x, and I multiply the story out, x times x cubed is, x times x squared is x cubed. What is x times kx? Kx squared. What is x times minus 6? Negative 6x. What is negative 1 times x squared? Negative x squared. Then negative kx. And then, so what do you notice? We know many things. Okay. I'm going to rearrange quickly. Put like terms next to each other. I kind of added y. It's unlike terms, but we're just writing in descending powers of x. Okay. So So what do we notice? What do you notice? The x cube on its place. Can you see that? X cube is on its place. 6 is on its place. But what do you see now? What do you see now? You now see that negative 2x squared has to correspond with this here. Not so. And this the refresher here is that the only way I got x can get an x squared. You multiply x with an x. That's how we got that one. Or a constant with an x squared. That's the only way I get x squares. How do I get x's? A constant with an x or an x with a constant. That's the only way. Okay. So with that in mind, what we notice here? Negative 2x squared is actually equal to kx squared minus x squared. Not so. So what do we do? Equate, solve, okay? Take it over the equal sign. So it becomes negative 2x squared plus x squared gives you negative x squared equals kx squared. So what is k? Negative 1, not so. Let's go on this side. So in other words, what we have here, but negative 5x has to be equal to negative 6x minus k. Not so. So in other words, negative 5x is equal to negative 6x minus kx. Again, I'm going to take it over the equal sign. It becomes x is equal to negative kx. So what can we conclude here? Negative k is equal to? There's no number, there's a 1, not so. So therefore k is equal to? So did I have to do it again? No, I didn't need to do it once. Because that k is the same as this k. You guys understand? So now in the exams we don't have so many colors. Not so. No. So how do we do it? With that understanding in mind, this is how we do it. So at this point we found the factors. The next step was to determine the quadratic factor. Not so. So what we do is we say we got x cubed minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 6 is equal to the linear factor, which is x minus 1 into. So we ask ourselves, okay, x multiplied by what is x cubed? X squared. 6 multiplied negative 1 multiplied by what is negative? Is positive 6. Negative 6. So what are we going to add here? We are going to add a k of x. You see that, people? So we only work with, as I indicated, one of it, either x squared or x. I always go with x squared. The only way you're going to get an x squared, you multiply an x with an x, or negative 1 constant times an x squared. That's the only way I'm going to get an x squared. You guys got that? So in other words, negative 2x squared is equal to kx times x, kx squared, negative 1 times k squared, negative k squared. You see that, people? So what we do now? Solve for k. We take it over the equal sign. Negative 2x squared minus x squared gives you what? Negative x squared is equal to kx squared. So therefore, k is equal to negative 1. Easy, no? Yeah, then again, everything else is easy. So what does the equation now read, people? X minus 1 into, sorry, not yet, into x squared, okay, is now negative 1, so it's negative x minus 6. So what is this now to us? Trinomial, not so. That can factorize into x minus 3 and x plus . And of course, what is the third step? Factorize the quadratic factor if possible. I just factorized it, so I did step 2 starts here, and then step 3 is to factorize the cubic if possible. People, you guys understand? Huh? Let's do the next one. Number 2. Number 2 is on page 137 as well. Right, the question says factorize 2x cubed plus x squared minus 13x plus 6. What's the first thing we need to do? Yes? Find the linear factor. How do we find the linear factor? By substituting 1. And if 1 doesn't work, negative 1. If negative 1 doesn't work, 2. Then negative 3, then 6 or negative 6. You all okay with that? Right. So let's go with 1. So it's going to be, whenever I see an x, I put answer. No? So I first put 1 is equal to, which means to say if I press answer, that the answer will be 1. If I use that answer key. So I say 2 answer cubed, whoops, not squared, cubed, plus answer squared minus 13 answer plus 6. If it's 0, then what does it mean? Factor. Not 0, not a factor. Is this a factor? Is that a solution to the equation? No. So what must I try now? Negative 1. You see the benefit of using the answer button now. Instead of now changing everything to negative 1 or to 2 and minus 2, I just press negative 1 equal, which means to say now that's the last answer calculated. So I sub that into that expression, I get 18. Is negative 1 a factor? No. Oh, sorry, in the solution? No. So what do I do now? 2. Is 2 a factor? Yes. X equal to 2 is solution, sorry? Yes. So if x is equal, if you got 2, I substituted 2 into that equation. So that means to say it's 2 into 2 cubed plus 2 squared minus 13 times 2 plus 6. And that gave me an answer? 0. Okay. Now what's the next step? Find the quadratic factor. Right, so what do we say? Therefore, x minus 2 is a factor of f of x. I don't have to say this of f of x, okay? I can leave that up. Let's find the quadratic factor. So what do I write here? Firstly, write 2x cubed plus x squared minus 13x plus 6 is equal to x minus 2 into x multiplied by what is 2x cubed? 2x squared. 6 to get 6.
So Mr. Point, Mr. Ella is asking for a flute.
Alright. So negative 2 multiplied by what is positive 6? Negative 3. So what must I add here? Okay. Always positive correct. Okay. So what we're going to link it to? X squared. Okay, so that's now x squared. We'll use it later on. That x squared is equal to. So how do I get an x squared? The constant. No, not that one. Constant with x squared or x with an x. So what is negative 2 multiplied by 2x squared? Negative 4x squared. Not so. What is x multiplied by kx? Kx. So what do I do now? What do I do now? And this negative 4x squared over becomes x squared plus 4x squared, which is 5x squared is equal to kx squared. Therefore, k is equal to. Do I stop there? No. So what do I do now? So this is equal to x minus 2 into 2x squared plus 5x minus, and there we got the quadratic equation, the quadratic factor. Not so. Now what's the third step we need to do? We need to factorize this quadratic factor, which now gives us x minus 2. 2 times 3 is 6. So it's 2x times 3 is 6, minus 1 is 5. The bigger product must be positive. Okay. Is there any confusion there? So do one more, or you guys got it? Boring. Right, I'm going to do number 2.10 from the homework that I will be giving you now, from exercise 4. Okay, the sum reads, you got negative 6x cubed minus 7x squared plus 1. Right, what's the first thing we need to do? Check for the factor, not so. So what I do is I put in a calculator. I'm going to start with 1. And then 2, negative 2, 3, negative 3, 6 and negative 6. So we go. 1 equals. So you say negative 6 answer cubed minus 7 answer squared. I'm taking it from here. Plus 1. It's 12. So is 1 a factor? No. So then I must go with negative 1. Is negative 1 a factor? Actually, I make a mistake every time. No? Is negative 1 a solution? Yes. So what is the factor? X plus 1. X plus 1 is the factor. No? So what I write is I substitute x is equal to negative 1. So it's negative 6 into negative 1 cubed minus 7 into negative 1 squared plus 1 equals 0. So therefore what? X plus 1 is a factor. As is, this is a factor. So what do we do next? We need to find the quadratic, not so. But you see as a negative here, in the previous sums we didn't have a negative there. So what must I do? Let's factorize a negative first. Okay? So in other words, negative 6x cubed minus 7x squared plus 1 is equal to, I first take out the negative as a common factor. I'm now left with 6x cubed plus 7x squared minus 1. Even though I took negative out as a common factor, you'll still have x plus 1 being the factor of that equation. Okay? So what do I do now? We say that we got negative into x plus 1 and I need to find the quadratic factor there. Okay? So what goes here? X multiplied by what is 6x cubed? 6x squared. 1 multiplied by what is negative 1? Negative. So what do I add in the middle? Sorry? Plus 10x. So I link it to 7x squared. Now say there was no x squared. What if the sum had been negative 6x cubed minus 7x plus 1? Then there was no x squared here. Then you would have linked it to? You could have gone with x, or you could have said 0x squared. You understand? If there was no x, say the sum had been x cubed minus 7x plus 1. There was no x squares there. Not so. But if I have to put the x squared there, it's going to be 0x squared. Can you see? But this is not that one of those. Right, so we're going to link it to 7x squared. So what do we say? 7x squared is equal to, how do I get x squares? By multiplying x with kx, which is kx squared, and 1 times 6x squared is what? Positive 6x squared. They get over the equal sign. So what's 7x squared minus 6x squared? X squared is kx squared. Therefore, k is equal to 1. What do I do now? Substitute that 1 in there. So that is equal to negative into x plus 1, 6x squared, plus x minus 1. So there we have our trinomial now. Can the trinomial factorize? Next one, yes. So negative into x plus 1. That's going to give you 3x. X, 1 and 1. The bigger product must be positive. There must be a 2 here. No? Bigger product must be positive. It's positive. You guys understand? So something to note at this point. If this was an equation, which is not, if that was an equation, everything remains the same here. Of course, you're going to have equal to 0, equal to 0, equal to 0, equal to 0. And then the roots are x is equal to minus 1, or x is equal to a third, or x is equal to negative 1. Can you see? So if I must put a third into this equation here, this expression, a third, then what do you think the answer is going to be? 0. You see? What do you think what will happen if I put a half in? Don't lie. Half won't give you 0. What will give you 0? Negative half. Half won't give you 0. But negative half is, that gives you 0. You see? Stand here. Do another one. No. Thank you. Alright, so with that you should be able to do exercise 4. Exercise 4 is on page 137. About 9 minutes left. Do you think we should do the last exercise as well? Huh? Yes, okay.